morning. You're very welcome along to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1. It is Monday, the 9th of October. My voice is just coming back. What a weekend we had in Paris for those of you over there waking up this morning. What said there's a few sore heads.
You're loving these few weeks, aren't you? Paris is his new home.
Paris is like Ireland at the minute.
I know.
I swear, covered in green.
Streets closed off with all the Irish. We've got a busy show lined up from memoirs to rugby stars. Let's have a look.
Yes, coming up at 8:15, rugby royalty. Devin Toner, the big man, is going to be stopping by to chat, of course, that Ireland match against Scotland, the All Blacks, and, of course, life after retirement.
What are you thinking about next week?
Oh, the All Blacks this weekend. It's going to be tricky.
Yeah. Now, it's all about interiors as we get the inside scoop on the latest design-based podcast. That's coming up after 8 o'clock.
Plus, later on in the show, we're going to chat to media master Terry Prone about her new memoir, which details amazing career heights, including getting her first break at RT at just 13.
13 in RT. Madam Wash, Shiva. Did I get it right?
You got it right. Well done, Alan.
What else is coming up this morning?
Mahoo. Good morning, guys. We've got loads coming up in just a bit. We'll be giving you all the info you need to know about your rights as a consumer when you're making purchases and returns. Plus, we'll have expert advice on how to spot the signs of breast cancer and what to do if you're concerned. And we'll be finishing with our showbiz slot. We'll be talking... Well, everyone is talking about since last night the return of Big Brother at the end of the show today.
I know you're both discussing it there. What did you make of it?
Well, they recorded it on Saturday and it just felt recorded. It didn't have that big opening live feel to it.
Yeah, it was missing a bit of that like live excitement, but I thought the contestants were amazing, so I'm really looking forward to chatting to Ali Ryan all about that at the end of the show.
Good contestants.
That's it, yeah. But first of all, let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Geraldine Lynagh.
Thanks, Shiva. Good morning. At least 1,000 people have now been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza, while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel.
After a weekend of unprecedented attacks, the violence continues. Israel set the scene for a full-blown military operation yesterday after officially declaring war on Hamas. On Saturday, Palestinian militants launched a surprise attack in southern Israel, killing over 500 and kidnapping civilians and soldiers. Then on Sunday, Israel responded with airstrikes, killing close to 400 people. In Tel Aviv, families are submitting DNA samples in the hopes of reuniting loved ones that have been taken hostage.
She was in the ambulance 208, but we don't know where is she now.
More and more violence will continue for some time, as Israel's Prime Minister says the country is embarking on what will be a long and difficult war. Mairead Cleary, Virgin Media News.
A woman with dual Irish-Israeli citizenship is among those unaccounted for in the Israeli conflict. The Department of Foreign Affairs says it's in contact with the family of 22-year-old Kim Dante, who was attending a music event in southern Israel when the attacks began. There's been widespread condemnation of the attack on Israel by Hamas. The Taoiseach said there could be no excuse for the violence.
This is probably the worst attack that Israel has had to endure for 40 years now, and the government condemns it unreservedly. There can be no excuse for targeting women, children, taking children and women and civilians as hostage. I don't think anyone could do anything other than condemn that, and we do condemn it unreservedly.
More than 1,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed.
Excavators being used to dig through piles of rubble as people search for any survivors after the deadly earthquake in Afghanistan. Others use spades and their hands as they search for survivors. The death toll is expected to rise as searches of collapsed homes are carried out. The mud structures were flattened almost completely in Saturday's 6.3 magnitude quake, which has destroyed many villages northwest of the city of Herat. According to the UN, 465 houses have been destroyed, with over 135 others severely damaged. The magnitude 6.3 earthquake is one of the deadliest to strike the country in 2 decades. There were at least 3 strong aftershocks, including one measuring magnitude 5.5 on the Richter scale. The rubble is also blocking roads, making access difficult for rescue and humanitarian efforts in the region. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
A motorcyclist has been killed in a road accident in Donegal. The single vehicle crash happened on the R262 near Glentees shortly before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The motorcyclist, a man in his late 40s, received medical treatment at the scene but was pronounced dead a short time later. His death brings to 4 the number killed in separate road accidents around the country this weekend. The 3 coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the final touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to help with the cost of living, such as an energy credit. Increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC, are also on the cards. A mortgage interest relief scheme for homeowners is also likely, while third-level grants for students are also expected to rise. Further meetings are expected today to finalise a number of outstanding details.
There's a number of outstanding issues. The tax package, the distribution of that, the package for small business, and also health and social welfare. As you know, pretty much half of all the money the government spends is healthcare, social welfare and pensions, so they tend to go down to the wire. 12
core measures within the budget, which will be a combination of expenditure on services, a cost of living package, improvements to core social welfare rates, a tax package. Before the end of the year there will be further public service pay round. So putting all of that together, the objective will be to reduce the pressures that are on people because of the increase in the cost of living.
And finally for now, a 150-year-old lighthouse in Florida has been lit up again for the first time in a decade. A community group raised $6 million to restore and preserve the Alligator Reef Lighthouse on the Florida Keys, which has been in the dark since 2013. GPS, sonar and other technology made the lighthouse obsolete, but a huge fundraising drive has been launched to save the historical structure.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Thank you very much, Ger. Now it's time to take a look at this morning's paper, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, Israel prepares for ground attack after declaring war on Hamas. Israel formally declared a state of war yesterday as the death toll from Saturday's Hamas cross-border attack rose to more than 1,000.
The Examiner also leads with this story. Israel declares war as hundreds of civilians die. Civilians on both sides are already paying a high price as the Israeli military intensifies its bombardment of the Gaza Strip. It comes as it emerged an Irish woman is unaccounted for after attacks on an outdoor rave near Gaza.
Yes, the Herald goes with fears for Irish girl missing in Israel. The government is offering support to the family of 22-year-old Kim Damty, an Irish-Israeli citizen who is missing after Hamas launched one of its deadliest attacks on Israel in half a century.
The Star also leads with that story, Irish woman missing in rave massacre.
The Sun leads with Ace Robbie's Israel attack terror. Robbie Keane, who is now head coach of an Israeli soccer team, was forced to hide in a panic room before fleeing Israel as Hamas launched its attack.
Totally different story now. Budget plans for €1,000 mortgage interest tax break. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Mortgage interest relief worth more than €1,000 and pay-related unemployment were on the centre of talks of the budget last night. The interest relief would be given to variable and tracker mortgages.
And the Mirror also goes with grab a grand. The government is to launch a giveaway budget tomorrow that could see most households gain up to €1,000 a year. Students, renters, landlords, Gardaí, pensioners, job seekers, as well as middle and low-paid workers will see a €20 a week boost.
Last-minute tensions on budget for the family is the top story of the Daily Mail. Hostility among coalition ministers towards the health minister and the public expenditure minister is growing as pre-budget talks run in today. One minister has said it's chaos. It's usually these allocations are settled a week before the budget.
Now, we will be getting an update on what's been going on in Israel. That's coming up at 7:35. But after the break, from Ireland's win against Scotland in the Rugby World Cup to the Premier League clashes, we're going to be recapping all the sporting weekend.
Yeah, we're going to see you back here in a few minutes.
You're very welcome back now. Of course, the Irish team outskilled, they outpowered, they obliterated, always good, Scotland on Saturday. And the lads now are on their way to the quarterfinals against the mighty All Blacks in the Rugby World Cup. So here to discuss that game as well as some of the other sporting highlights of the weekend is Gavin Cooney from the 42.ie. And on Skype, we have sports journalist with the Irish Independent, Cian Tracy. Good morning to you. Cian, in well, what looks like pretty dark Paris there at the moment. Cian, I'll come to you just in a second to talk about the rugby, but one story that's on a lot of the back pages is the Premier League yesterday. And before we get into the Ireland match, let's talk Premier League, because there was a big turn of events in Arsenal beating Man City yesterday, kind of like the school teacher and his apprentice, Arteta and Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
The tide's turning there?
Yeah, massively. Like, Guardiola has to take Arteta seriously as his main rival now. That was the case last season when Arsenal were the only team to really put up a challenge to Manchester City's ultimate half-canter to the league title. And so it proved yesterday at the Emirates. I mean, you get the sense that Arsenal need to win this game, or needed to win this game, because they have this rotten record against Manchester City. They had lost 13 straight games against them. They hadn't beaten them since 2015.
Wow.
But they got the win yesterday, which was crucial. It was a crushingly dull game for so long, which is unlike these top two clashes. They're usually thrill a minute, particularly was the case when Liverpool and Man City were going head-to-head. But City were missing key players in Roger and Kevin De Bruyne, and they were oddly defensive. You got the sense that maybe for the last 20 minutes they were happy with the draw, which
came to the fore. Do we actually think that Arteta could mount a serious challenge this year?
I think so, because Arsenal have spent lots of money in the summer to strengthen their squad. Declan Rice was brilliant in that game. He strengthens the team, and they've brought in guys like Kai Havertz, who ultimately set up that winning goal to strengthen the squad as well. So the depth is there. They've had the experience of pushing City last season. Now that they have to go and capitalise this year. And the only one which you can finish ahead of Man City is beat them home and away, because they dropped so few points. So in the context of all that, that's why it was so important for us.
Okay. A big draw for Brighton. They continue their fine form against Liverpool.
Liverpool hammered at Brighton 3-0 earlier this year. It's kind of marked a kind of a nadir of last season for Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool were a lot better yesterday, but still couldn't close out the game. They were 2-1 up with 15 minutes remaining and then conceded a soft goal from a set piece. But Jurgen Klopp even admitted afterwards that a draw was a fair result. You can see they're giving away an unbelievably sloppy goal to Adingra, but from what Liverpool could do, Brighton could do as well. They gave away poor enough goals as well. So Mo Salah equalising, then Brighton giving the ball away really sloppily for that penalty that Salah converted. But ultimately, Liverpool missed a sitter then at 2-1 to go 3-1 ahead with Ryan Gravenberch, and then were made to pay. That's pretty poor defending on that set piece, but not the worst point in the world.
Standard Liverpool on that one as well. Let's talk rugby. Let's move across to Paris then as well. Cian, I'd say there's a lot of sore heads in a lot of Irish households today. I just couldn't get over the amount of Irish jerseys, Irish support over there. It was an incredible victory against the Scots.
Really was, Tommy. Yeah, I know you were there as well. I bumped into you before and after the match. I think Johnny Sexton probably summed it up best afterwards when he said he didn't think the Irish support could get any better than it was for that South Africa game. But before the game, James Lowe was in the pre-match press conference saying that the squad had been told there's going to be 60,000 Irish supporters over. You were kind of thinking that might be fanciful, but having been in the stadium, I don't know if you'd agree, but it looked like there was at least 60,000 Irish supporters there. It was amazing. I don't think the support gets lost on the coaches, Andy Farrell or any of the players. I think they're genuinely blown away by it. And the fact now that Ireland have avoided France in the quarter-final means that Irish supporters probably have a better chance of getting their hands on more tickets for this weekend's quarter-final against New Zealand, because you just wouldn't imagine as many Kiwis are going to make that long journey from New Zealand.
No, I have a couple of my friends already been on to me saying that any chance of a few tickets, but they've the flights booked anyway. And to be fair, the crack around Paris, you don't even have to be in the stadium. In terms of the Irish team, though, they were incredibly ruthless in that first half in particular. Going into that match against the All Blacks, where are we in terms of injury problems? Because we saw Mac Hansen, James Lowe, even James Ryan looked like they were struggling a bit.
Yeah, it's a hefty injury toll, Tommy. Big kind of shades of 2015. Kind of, almost don't want to mention it, but you'd know kind of well about that as well. So we don't have a full update yet. We spoke to Simon Easterby yesterday, but it was still too early to tell. Robbie Henshaw and Keith Earls, but also both have hamstring injuries, which is obviously a major concern as well. And if James Lowe and Mac Hansen were out and Keith Earls was out, that leaves you very short in the back three. Hugo Keenan is obviously still fit, ever reliable at full back, but that would mean Jimmy O'Brien would be the only kind of winger left. So I think today is going to be the key day in terms of making decisions on the fitness of guys. Are they going to look to call anyone in? I saw Jacob Stockdale made his return from injury for Ulster on Saturday. You'd imagine he'd be the next winger in if Ireland were looking for reinforcements. But I think they'll give the likes of Lowe, Hansen, Ryan every opportunity to prove their fitness. James Lowe seemed to get a finger in the eye from Tyke Byrne. I think it was a bit of friendly fire. He had lost vision, but come full time, the vision was coming back. So fingers crossed, pardon the pun, that he'll be okay. Mac Hansen went off for a HIA, came back on and seemed to pull his calf, which wasn't ideal. I could see him at halftime heading into the dressing room. He had a big ice pack on it, but he was walking out afterwards. And then there was fears that, I think there was a lot of talk that James Ryan perhaps broke his wrist, but ended up playing on, which is just mad because the previous week he had a wrist injury as well, but this seems to have been on his other wrist. So hopefully that wasn't as bad as he seemed to think it was after the game, because he's a really important player going into the New Zealand game this weekend as well. Very important as well. I saw Tyke Furlong was struggling at one stage as well, but we will get an update on that. I do have to ask you about the other big result last night as well. Newcomers to the tournament, Portugal, getting a win over Fiji, and we saw the scenes of jubilation after. It's always nice to see a bit of an upset like that. It's incredible. I mean, they've probably been the story of the World Cup in many ways, Tommy. I mean, they've pushed so many teams close in that pool, and they got the reward last night against Fiji. But it's the style of rugby that they're playing. Ireland went over to Portugal, if you remember, during the summer before they headed to the World Cup, and they had a training game against Portugal. And I've been talking to people on the inside of the Ireland squad, and they had said the problems that Portuguese backline caused Ireland were just like amazing. So they certainly impressed Ireland on that little training game, and they've backed it up at the World Cup. And I suppose the big thing now is, like, when are we going to get to see these players play next? We have these conversations every 4 years around the World Cup in terms of the tier 2 nations, but you'd hope that a couple of those players could get picked up by European clubs, because we don't want to have to wait another 4 years to the next World Cup in Australia to get to see some of these guys play. And it's brilliant to see the game growing, but I think it's up to World Rugby now to give them the platform to kick on. Absolutely, absolutely. And it's the same every 4 years we have that, and we've seen some of the trouncing and some of the results, but a fantastic result for Portugal as well. Listen, Kate, thank you so much for joining us. I'll hopefully see you over there for the All Blacks match this weekend as well. It's going to be a cracker of a game. Gavin, I'm afraid we didn't get to mention, but the FAI Cup finals is Bohemians against St. Pat's coming up as well, which is a good one as well. And the Euro announcement coming to Ireland. So we have loads more sport. Gavin Cooney from 42.ie. Now, Alan and Shiva, what else is coming up?
Well, Tommy, coming up next, we're going to be discussing the ongoing situation in Israel after Hamas launched an attack this weekend.
Yeah, plus a little later on, we're shedding some light on your consumer rights when it comes to faulty goods and services.
See you in a few minutes.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the headlines now. At least 1,000 people have been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza, while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel. Israel said that more than 100 of its citizens have been kidnapped by Hamas. More than 1,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed. The 6.3 magnitude quake hit the Herat province on Saturday, blocking roads, downing communications and reducing many buildings and mud structures to rubble. And the three coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the finishing touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to cope with the cost of living, such as an energy credit. Increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC, are also on the cards.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry, apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day, with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
You're very welcome back. Now, hopefully we will be going to get an update on what is going on over in Israel in a few minutes, but also on the front of a lot of the papers is, of course,
Budget tomorrow. Everybody's going to be glued to it. And, of course, every year we sort of know what's going to happen. But this year it seems that there's still like long day talks yesterday, Saturday, even going into the day, that they're still trying to finalise things. And there was a lot of talk this morning about this grant that people might be getting if you're on a tracker or a variable mortgage. You may get €1,000 tax relief from it.
Absolutely. So grab a grand is on the front of the page.
It's like a game show.
Budget plans for €1,000 mortgage interest tax break, of course, here. I think childcare is one of the big ones that looks like it could be missing out with Roderick O'Gorman.
Increase in student grants of more than 300 in this academic year, and for the first time, postgraduate students will get a grant support of up to 2,300. That's if it's all there.
I think we have Declan on the line now. So over the weekend, the Israeli Prime Minister... Oh, no, we don't have Declan on the line. Sorry.
Okay. We'll keep talking about the budget, so...
So Roderick O'Gorman was the one that I feel is in a bit of difficulty because, of course, he did say in the last budget that 50% of childcare costs are going to be taken away from people. Of course, it got up to 25% last time. It was expected to go another 25% this time. But with childcare costs going through the roof, with the likes of healthcare budget going through the roof, there's a lot of big decisions still to be made.
So many big decisions. Lump sum payments to those on carers allowance, disability allowances, fuel allowance, and all the living alone allowances. But there will be lower levels than last year. And of course, it looks like we are going to get our energy two payments as well, but probably only
not to the same level as what was last year.
Probably 150, but two before Christmas, they were saying, which is very good. Okay, I think we do have Declan Power here to tell us more about what's happening in Israel. Is Irish soldier and defence analyst Declan Power. Good morning to you, Declan. Can you hear us? You can?
I can indeed, yeah.
Declan, good morning to you. Declan, can we break this down for our viewers this morning and literally tell us who are Hamas and why this attack at the weekend?
Okay, Hamas are the ruling entity in Gaza, and they're classed as a terrorist entity in most parts of the world. They came to power, mainly they came to power through the ineptitude of Yasser Arafat's regime when the Palestinian state in Gaza were created. And unfortunately, Yasser Arafat's regime had become very corrupt. Hamas were known to be an extreme Islamist group who weren't hugely popular with their own people until the corruption. And they got voted into power and have consolidated their base there. They're very fundamentalist, very extreme. One question sometimes gets asked of me is how much do ordinary Palestinians support them? While they voted them in, it's arguable if they still have the kind of support that one would expect of a democratic entity. They have a very strong grip, and they are strong enemies of the Fatah movement, which are found in the other part, in the West Bank, the other part of Palestine. This attack would have taken place not purely by Hamas's hand. They wouldn't have the expertise, the command or control or coordination or the assets to have been able to coordinate an attack of this nature because it's so multifaceted. There were multiple land and sea incursions into Israel by Hamas fighters who were well equipped and reasonably well coordinated enough to be able to attack Israeli military targets. This was followed up with Hezbollah attacks from South Lebanon, mortar attacks into Israeli both military and civilian targets. The fact that they managed to do this without it coming to the attention of either Israeli or US intelligence is probably a matter of major concern to the international community at the moment.
A huge concern, because if you think about Israel, you think about it being, say, one of the world leaders in intelligence and world defense. So to see this attack, to not see this attack coming, where have the weapons and the intelligence come from to help Hamas in building and putting on such a big, I suppose, a huge fight towards Israel?
Yeah, that's a valid point. For a long time, the Israelis have been talking about the stockpiling of weapons and have engaged in punitive attacks and incursions where they felt it was necessary to limit Hamas's ability to stockpile weapons. There has been an ongoing embargo, which most of the viewers watching this will be aware of, that has become quite emotive. A lot of Europeans, a lot of Irish people had been involved in supporting attempts to break that embargo. And the Israelis had always been saying that this was a necessity in order for them to defend their territory. And the sad truth seems to be that this has been borne out. In fact, despite all of the Israelis' attempts and actions, we've seen the end result. The unfortunate reality of this is the people who are going to suffer the most now will be the ordinary Palestinians. The Israelis under the UN Charter have every right to defend themselves. They have suffered. This has been one of the most serious attacks on Israeli soil in recent time, because while there were multiple rocket attacks which were quite serious in their own right, because there hadn't been rocket attacks of that nature and that severity, if ever, that I can think of. And it put the Israeli air defense system known as Iron Dome under pressure in a way that it hadn't been before. So the Israelis were very, I think, focused on that at the time, but it still doesn't negate the fact that they should have had forewarning. The other interesting aspect to this is the penetrations of the wall and zone around. Again, something Israel was hugely criticized for when it created it.
Yeah,
And,
Declan, I have to just ask you two things, really. Where does it go next from this?
Yeah. Well, again, one of the incredibly unfortunate things is viewers will be aware of the hugely disturbing and emotive footage doing the rounds of social media of particularly young women, that some who are dead, it appears, and some who are still alive and who are prisoners, and indeed children, so that have been taken. So a huge amount of hostages have been taken by Hamas. That I think their strategy is to dot them around in strongholds to limit Israeli attacks, because Israel will be gearing up to put in a very severe ground offensive against Hamas. Where does it go? I think perhaps before I answer that is why did it occur? And it's occurred on the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, October 6th. It appears to be something that Iran may well have been guiding with a view to establishing its primacy in the region as the top dog, so to speak, and to interrupt any degree of linkage between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which was being worked on over the last period, which would upset Iran's dominance. And Iran would sees itself as a mortal enemy of Saudi Arabia as well. So there's a lot of geopolitical factors, but nevertheless,
sorry, Declan, we're running out of time here. I suppose we'll probably be talking to you again and again about this, because, as you say, this is something that is going to continue on for probably a very long time. Declan Power, defence analyst, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, particularly with the continued support, the US and the UK have supported Israel, but they're already supporting Ukraine.
And of course, we have that Irish woman who is missing there also at the moment, and we were trying to find out more about that as well. Now, after the break, we're going to find out the difference between guarantees and warranties, and what are your rights as a consumer.
Yeah, we're back after the break.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, there's nothing worse than spending your hard-earned cash on something and then it breaks. But fear not, because we have someone here to tell us all about our rights as a consumer.
Yes, just in time, because my fridge is just after breaking.
Director... And my cooker's broken.
We're on takeaways for the foreseeable. Director of Communications from the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Grania Griffin, joins us now. You're very welcome, Grania. How are you? So, Grania, 32,431 consumers contacted the CCPC helpline in 2022. What were the majority of these complaints and queries in relation to?
Yeah, so we've had more calls than we've had in years. Consumers are definitely experiencing problems out there, but the general trends haven't changed. Faulty goods and services always top that list. People want to know what are their rights when something goes wrong, particularly if they've bought something expensive or something that they expected to get a number of years out of.
So it's like, so your fridge, my cooker, the fan in the cooker's gone. So when something like that happens, do you go back to the shop that you bought it, or is it the manufacturer who's on the cooker or the fridge? Who
That's
do you
a great question, and actually that's the first thing we normally end up explaining to people on the helpline. So your contract is with the shop. Shop, trader, retailer, whatever word you use to choose.
Okay.
That's who you've got into a contract with, and it's on them to put something right if it goes wrong. And consumer rights, as a general rule, last up to 6 years. So
say you have a guarantee, like your fridge came with a 3-year guarantee, and that guarantee is up. So you would think, oh, well, I've no rights now.
Yeah, see, it can be confusing. You've got guarantees, you've got warranties, you've got statutory rights, and it can be hard to know, like, what's the difference? So I think the easiest way to go about it is to say you've got your statutory rights, and then guarantees and warranties are potentially a bonus on top of them. So, like, the words tend to be used interchangeably, but technically, a guarantee is generally offered by the manufacturer, and it comes, like, printed on the instructions or on the box. And it's like, you know, 2-year guarantee, 1-year guarantee.
A big sticker
exactly, yeah, it's a selling point. And often you have to register for it, you know, at the time you buy it. Go onto this website, register your details. A warranty then is often something that you buy at the time. It's often offered by the shop, like pay extra for 2 years, and it's nearly like an insurance policy. And, you know, it might cover accidental damage as well as faulty goods and things like that. So they're kind of extras. They're generally 1 year, 2-year kind of limited things. And if something goes wrong, they can be the easiest way to get something fixed or repaired. You know, you can go often to the manufacturer, they'll fix it under the warranty, and it can be very straightforward. But if you don't have a guarantee, or you never registered for the guarantee, or you don't have a warranty, your basic statutory rights say that for up to 6 years after you buy something, if something goes wrong, you're entitled to a repair or a refund or a price reduction, or basically to have the matter put right.
Did you know that?
No, and this is
like
amazing
on everything,
news. This
like on a kettle or something.
Oh, absolutely. Now, there is a level of realism to it. So obviously it depends on how much you paid and what you bought. So for example, if you bought a plastic poncho at a festival for €2, there's no expectation.
6 years later, my poncho's torn, I want a new one.
You know, you have to be practical about it. You know, that's taken into account. But if you spend 300 quid on a hiking jacket, for example, to go up like some mountain, and then it's leaking or the seams are leaking after, you know, a month or two, that's not right.
So like for your fridge, for your cooker, for big household items like that you probably would have spent maybe 600-700 euro on, you have 6-year guarantee, not a guarantee, it's a consumer right.
Yeah. So, and within that now, there are timeframes that it's helpful to know about.
Yes.
So for the first 30 days after you buy something, you have really strong rights. So within 30 days, you can just go back and say, this is faulty, I want a refund, no quibbling. You know, so 30 days, but you have to go back within that 30 days. There's no good making a note of it and saying, I'm within the 30 days now, I must head back in a couple of weeks. You have to go back within the 30 days, say you're cancelling your contract, return the goods to them, and look for your refund.
And can I ask, is that even if there's nothing wrong with the product?
No, and that's really the point. So we're talking about things that are faulty.
Okay.
So where they're not as described.
You just don't like the colour of it suddenly, then you say, I don't like the colour.
My poncho was too, I wasn't pink enough.
So it has to be not as described, not durable, like not working. There has to be something wrong with it. Change of mind returns when you buy them in a shop are always dependent on the shop policy.
Okay.
And if you buy online, you always get 2 weeks to change your mind because you've bought online.
Now, speaking of online, because so many of us now shop online, do we still have the same rights online as we do if we went into the corner shop or to somewhere in a retail park?
Generally speaking, yes. And in some ways you have stronger rights because you have that change of mind right when you buy online. But the only thing is you need to be really careful who you're buying from. So a website might end in .ie, but that just generally means it ships to Ireland. It doesn't mean that company is based in Ireland. And if you want to be covered if something goes wrong, you really want to buy from an Irish company or from an EU company. So if you go in and actually check the contact details for that website or look at the terms and conditions on that website, particularly if you're spending a lot of money, like you have to remember that the UK is no longer in the EU, so your consumer rights are no longer as strong as they used to be. And then there are other countries like China and stuff that will ship to Ireland, but where you could end up with serious difficulty trying to get your money back if something goes wrong.
Okay. And how strong are consumer rights when it comes to services such as home maintenance? And what if, you know, the standard isn't what you're expecting or the frequency of the services isn't as you're expecting?
So your rights are just as strong with services now as they are with goods. That improved last year. There was new laws came in last year. So if a service is done and it's not up to scratch, it's not what you expected or not what was written down when you signed up for it, then you can get that either put right or you can look for a price reduction or, again, a refund. It's the same kind of remedies that are available.
Can I just go back to the online thing for a second and regarding, like you're saying, like the UK not in the EU anymore. What if suddenly you're hit with a bill for shipping charges and all that extra stuff that might come into that? Are you liable for that or should that have been noted just because you didn't see that it's coming from somewhere else?
Well, so when you're buying from a business, and generally UK law is pretty similar to Irish law, when you're buying from business, they should tell you the full price up front.
All right.
And that should include all taxes and charges. So that would assume import taxes, VAT, anything else. But you do need to pay attention to the small print if you're buying from a website that's based in the UK, because some of them will say in the small print that import taxes are not included and that the consumer is liable.
And
so
you could be stuck with a bill.
End up with them. Yeah. Now, you can potentially just cancel, like refuse to pay it, get in touch, cancel the order, have it returned to them. And you may want to think about that, particularly if it is like a big bill that you weren't expecting. And maybe it's not even that important to purchase, just cancelling it, having it returned and getting a refund that way. That can be an option.
Great advice.
Oh, I can go back to buying perishable goods soon.
Grania Griffin, Director of Communications, the Competition Consumer Protection Commission. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Grania.
Some really good advice there this morning for us.
Now, still to come this morning, rugby great Devin Toner talks life after the game.
Plus, there's Bao Buns, is that right? Yeah, Bao Buns in the kitchen this morning. And we're also going to be talking about the importance of interior design for self-expression.
Can't wait, don't go anywhere.
Minutes.
Welcome back to Ireland I Am, Falterash Corda. We've got plenty more to come this hour, from a rugby mate to a media great. Let's get into it.
We sure do. That is right. My old teammate Devin Toner is going to be here very shortly to talk about this weekend's World Cup match and what he's been up to since retiring just last year.
Imagine being retired. We chat to the minds behind Ireland's latest design podcast, which highlights the importance of interiors in showcasing our individuality.
Interesting. Plus, communications class act Terry Prone is going to chat about carving out a career as a woman in the media and the lengths it took to secure success. Of course, she has her new memoir out at the moment. Looking forward to that chat.
And Alan's sizzling in the kitchen and it smells unbelievable. What have you got for us there?
Oh, bum bum. I'm out sizzling. Yes, I'm here with Susie Lee, and this is from her Simply Chinese book, and I'm reading it here. Sticky pork belly bao buns with Susie's pickled vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So from scratch, it's a super easy kind of bread that I'm making to show you. It is simple. It is. I've made it really simple to then fill it with yummy sticky pork belly. We're going to make a lovely marinade, but you can use any different types of meat like chicken.
So these are being steamed at the moment, are they?
Yeah.
Okay, look at that.
So, yeah.
Tommy says they're amazing.
Oh,
I hope they are.
I love a bao bun.
I love bao. I don't think I've ever tried a bao bun.
Have you not?
No.
Yeah.
Are they healthy, Susie?
Yeah, like it's just a sandwich. Literally, it's a sandwich.
Basically a sandwich. Okay, looking forward to that. That's coming up a little later on. But now let's go out to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Geraldine Lynagh.
And good morning. At least 1,000 people have now been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel. Israel said that more than 100 of its citizens have been kidnapped by Hamas.
After a weekend of unprecedented attacks, the violence continues. Israel set the scene for a full-blown military operation yesterday after officially declaring war on Hamas. On Saturday, Palestinian militants launched a surprise attack in southern Israel, killing over 500 and kidnapping civilians and soldiers. Then on Sunday, Israel responded with airstrikes, killing close to 400 people. In Tel Aviv, families are submitting DNA samples in the hopes of reuniting loved ones that have been taken hostage.
She was in the ambulance 208, but we don't know where is she now.
More and more violence will continue for some time, as Israel's Prime Minister says the country is embarking on what will be a long and difficult war. Mairead Cleary, Virgin Media News.
A woman with dual Irish-Israeli citizenship is among those unaccounted for in the Israeli conflict. The Department of Foreign Affairs says it's in contact with the family of 22-year-old Kim Damty, who was attending a music festival in southern Israel when the attacks began. There's been widespread condemnation of the attack on Israel by Hamas. The Taoiseach said there could be no excuse for the violence.
I think this is probably the worst attack that Israel has had to endure for 40 years now, and the government condemns it unreservedly. There can be no excuse for targeting women, children, taking children and women and civilians as hostage. I don't think anyone could do anything other than condemn that, and we do condemn it unreservedly.
Up to 2,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed.
Excavators being used to dig through piles of rubble as people search for any survivors after the deadly earthquake in Afghanistan. Others use spades and their hands as they search for survivors. The death toll is expected to rise as searches of collapsed homes are carried out. The mud structures were flattened almost completely in Saturday's 6.3 magnitude quake, which has destroyed many villages northwest of the city of Herat. According to the UN, 465 houses have been destroyed, with over 135 others severely damaged. The magnitude 6.3 earthquake is one of the deadliest to strike the country in 2 decades. There were at least 3 strong aftershocks, including one measuring magnitude 5.5 on the Richter scale. The rubble is also blocking roads, making access difficult for rescue and humanitarian efforts in the region. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
A motorcyclist has been killed in a road accident in Donegal. The single vehicle crash happened on the R262 near Glenties shortly before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The motorcyclist, a man in his late 40s, received medical treatment at the scene but was pronounced dead a short time later. His death brings to 4 the number killed in separate road accidents around the country this weekend. The 3 coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the final touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to help with the cost of living, such as an energy credit. Increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC, are also on the cards. A mortgage interest relief scheme for homeowners is likely, while third-level grants for students are expected to rise. Further meetings are expected today to finalise a number of outstanding details. Finally, for now, a rediscovered Rembrandt painting could face up to $18 million when it goes up for auction later this year. Sotheby's originally attributed the painting, called The Adoration of the Kings, to what's described as the Circle of Rembrandt and valued it at $15,000. But it's since been confirmed that it was painted by the Dutch master himself. It will go up for auction in London in December.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
You're very welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Israel prepares for ground attack after declaring war on Hamas. Israel formally declared a state of war yesterday as the death toll from Saturday's Hamas cross-border attack rose to more than 1,000.
The Examiner also leads with this story. Israel declares war as hundreds of civilians die. Civilians on both sides are already paying a high price as the Israeli military intensified its bombardment of the Gaza Strip. It comes as it emerged an Irish woman is unaccounted for after attacks on an outdoor rave near Gaza.
The Herald goes with fears for Irish girl missing in Israel. The government is offering support to the family of 22-year-old Kim Damti, an Irish-Israeli citizen who is missing after Hamas launched one of its deadliest attacks on Israel in half a century.
The Star leads with the same story, Irish woman missing in rave massacre.
And the Sun leads with Ace Robbie's Israel attack terror. Robbie Keane, who is now head coach of an Israeli soccer team, was forced to hide in a panic room before fleeing Israel as Hamas launched its attack.
On different stories now, budget plans for €1,000 mortgage interest tax break. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Mortgage interest relief worth more than €1,000 on pay-related unemployment were the centre of talks on the budget last night. The interest relief would be given to variable and tracker mortgages.
The Mirror also goes with grab a grand. The government is to launch a giveaway budget tomorrow that could see most households gain up to €1,000 a year. Students, renters, landlords, Gardaí, pensioners, job seekers, as well as middle and low-paid workers will see a €20 a week boost.
And last-minute tension on the budget for the family is the top story of the Mail. Hostility among coalition ministers towards the Health Minister and the Public Expenditure Minister is growing as pre-budget talks run into today. One minister said it's absolutely chaos and usually department allocations are settled weeks before the budget.
Now, we have a lot of texts talking about the sport at the weekend. Obviously, Ireland.
Oh, what happened? Oh, yeah, Ireland won.
Did you watch it, actually?
I watched a bit of it.
You didn't really, did you?
I did watch a bit of it.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I enjoyed it.
Well, of course you did, because they were so bloody good.
Sorry, I won't sound surprised.
Do you know what I'm just so annoyed about is the draw, though. It's so frustrating.
It's a disgrace.
It's an absolute disgrace. When you see other teams, like, romping
England
through.
And Wales, just literally, it's absolutely disgraceful what's happened to have the four best teams in the competition play against each other in the quarterfinals. So two of the best teams in the competition are going to go out this weekend, because it's obviously Ireland against the All Blacks. It's South Africa against the home team, France. They're going to be two epic matches, and the Irish, like, to be fair, Ireland are the #1 team in the world.
Yeah.
And I think at the last 2 weeks and two matches we've seen against South Africa and Scotland, we've shown that we absolutely deserve to be the #1 team in the world.
Yeah,
but
and lots of texts coming in about this anyway. Dean says, what a win against Scotland. Well done to the boys in green. The atmosphere in the pubs on Saturday was the best it's been in years.
Oh, bring back the Jack Charlton years. That's what it's like.
It's
a bit like that.
I reckon if Ireland beat the All Blacks, it will be literally back to Italian 90s stage.
Yeah.
Peter said, yeah, well done to the Irish team. Another super win. We went over to Paris and the atmosphere in the streets. Peter, did I see you at 3 in the morning? Around the stadium was phenomenal. It really was. Irish supporters took over Paris.
Yeah, and we saw a story today. What's your favourite crisp flavour?
Cheese and onion.
Cheese and onion.
Yeah.
That Walker's crisps are discontinuing their Worcester sauce. Is it Worcester?
Worcester sauce.
This is a debate. Let us know how you pronounce it.
Is it Worcester or Worcester sauce? Who would eat Worcester sauce anyway?
I use it in my cooking a lot, yeah.
No, but would you eat crisps, though?
Oh, I wouldn't turn them down.
I've tried Worcestershire sauce once before, and a big loss. To be fair,
a big loss.
A big loss.
It's a big loss to us all. Tommy's devastated that Walkers are not doing Worcester sauce crisps anymore.
I'm trying to look up other ones. Tato curry chip flavour is no longer there anymore. Chickatees, remember Chickatees?
Oh,
they were
yeah.
ones as well, don't see
They're
them
gone.
anymore as well.
So we were discussing then discontinued products and the ones that we miss. And one thing that I miss is a Mars Delight bar. They were delicious, like crispy wafer with like a Mars inside. They were amazing. Yeah.
And is there white chocolate in it? No.
No.
Oh, it's just crispy.
I'll describe it in detail.
There it is.
There it
Oh,
is.
yes,
Look
the
at that.
Mars Delight.
It was like bubbly on the inside.
All right.
Bring them
It came
back.
in two, didn't it?
Yes, 2 in a pack.
All right.
So you felt like you were getting a double treat.
We were asking, what do you miss? Is there anything that you loved and it's discontinued? Let us know.
A Worcestershire sauce.
Would you miss that? 0896 111 111.
Okay, well, we'll ask this man the same question. Coming up next, we're going to chat with the legend of the line-out. Of course, Devin Toner is here to talk about Ireland's chances in the World Cup against the All Blacks and everything else. That's coming up after the break.
Yeah, we'll be back in a few.
Good morning, you're very welcome back now. Our next guest is a former Irish rugby international who represented his country for the last decade before retiring just last year.
Now, despite retiring, he also still holds the title for most Leinster rugby caps. You're very welcome, Devin Toner. How are you?
As well. Lovely cat.
Devin, you're very welcome. So first of all, tell us, what did you think of the game on Saturday? Great result there, Saturday versus Scotland. Were you ready to jump through the screen with a bit of argy-bargy start in the second half?
I was never one of them, to be honest. I was always the one.
You would have been one of the ones who'd be good sticking up for Johnny, to be fair.
I'm just with a long arm, so I just hold people at bay. I'm just like, no, calm down. Yeah, no, but it was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? Like, you see, everyone's talking about this weekend. It's brilliant to see how well they're doing, and everyone's just waiting for this weekend now, yeah.
Did you, because you were down in Cork watching it, whatever else as well. What about this weekend? Because listen, the All Blacks. Yeah. You've beaten the All Blacks, haven't you? I never beat the All Blacks in 14 years.
I was in the first team in Chicago to do it.
Yeah, like, because it's such a daunting challenge. And we were talking there, like, it's a bit of a joke of a draw that you have to face them. But the way Ireland are playing at the minute, you have to be confident that we can go and do a job against them.
Yeah, absolutely can be confident, yeah. But then again, the All Blacks have an aura about them. You know, they are the All Blacks. I think they've kind of been flying under the radar a little bit. Yeah. No one's really been talking about them. But now I think obviously they've had some phenomenal performances, and they're able to just kind of not glide through the after losing to France.
Well, of course.
And then so like I think as I said, they're going under the radar a little bit. So
they pretty much put 100 points on Italy, and like it's crazy to think the All Blacks, New Zealand, are going under the radar. Right. From Ireland's point of view, we were talking to Cian Tracy over in Paris at the minute. There is concerns injury-wise, particularly if James Ryan, who would be one of the main leaders within the Irish team, there's talk of potentially a broken wrist.
Yeah.
Obviously,
worrying. If it is, it's very worrying for him and the team. Obviously, when you get to this stage of the tournament, there's always going to be a few little niggles or injuries.
And with the line-out, because it has been an issue.
But it's very good to see Ian Henderson step up to play, and he played unbelievable at the weekend. Even when he came off the bench the week before, he was class. So if he ends up being injured, it's good having Hendy there, but fingers crossed he's okay.
And you only retired last year, Devin. What's it been like watching the World Cup as a spectator?
It's been brilliant, to be honest. To be able to watch it with a beer in your hand is not too bad. Like I think just when after I retired and people started asking me the whole time, "Oh, do I miss it?" and I was always like, "No, not really. I'm done. That was good." But now when it gets to this stage, when it gets to the big games, when it gets to when you see in the Grand Slam or you see in the World Cup, it's these big games that you start missing.
Of course,
big time. Yeah. Like over there at the weekend, when the atmosphere and the support is there, they're the ones that you do miss so much. But listen, you might be getting the call out yet. Like with the way the line-out is going, and if James Ryan is out.
What you do love seeing as well, you see all the friends and family as well. That's the big thing, because that's essentially who you're doing it for. When you see all the players going to see their friends and family afterwards, it's brilliant. Like,
do the kids follow it? Are they into the rugby?
Not really yet. No, I've been trying to get Max down I'm bringing him down on Sunday mornings to Lansdowne, and he's trying to get into it a little bit, but. Whatever he wants to do, I'll obviously support whatever he does. But he's getting into
because he does a couple of different sports. Like I saw you pictures of him with Taekwondo or something.
Yeah,
as well,
he did a bit of karate, trying to handle a bit of soccer and Gaelic as well. So we're obviously just trying everything on him and see what sticks.
Yeah, no, like I think it's important. Like I'd be the same with my kids, is that kind of getting, like, just don't focus on one sport too early on. You'll find the one that you love.
Absolutely. But sure, it stuck to me as well that I played Gaelic when I was young as well, that I was able to actually catch a ball
Of
as well.
course.
Like, so
Transferable skills.
well, I started in goals, then I was full back, and then I ended up full forward. I can imagine. They used to just kick the ball in full forward and be
trying to mark him. Put it in high.
So this year, Devin, you worked with Aviva on their Pride campaign alongside your former Leinster teammate Nick McCarthy. He's one of the first players to come out as gay in the rugby union. How important is allyship in the sport?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's obviously being talked about a lot, but I think over the landscape over the last 20 years has changed hugely. Like, it's something that is talked about all the time, and you feel like it should be a good environment to be able to talk about these sort of things. And it was great to see Nick obviously do it at the time, but it's hugely important to be an ally and just to be there for someone to talk to be honest.
I was really impressed that you were so, supportive in that as well. And people might have been surprised, but I think actually within a rugby changing room, like Nick, people probably would have known for a while about Nick, and there is that within the change room. It's like a brotherhood. It's
absolutely
everybody can now be so much more open, maybe compared to years gone by.
But when it came to it, some people did and some people didn't. Like I only knew maybe a couple of days before he actually announced it to the squad.
Oh really? Okay.
But like it was kind of one of those things that he said it, and we were like, oh okay. So we're going training now. It wasn't a huge deal. Obviously, a huge deal for him being able to come out to it. But to us, it was just happy for him. All power to him.
Well, it's so important, that he's able to come out and that there is representation for everyone, in these on these kind of platforms, So I think it's amazing that that's where rugby is going,
Big time. And for him to be the first or one of the first, because you think of Nigel Owens, the referee as well, Gareth Thomas, one of the former players as well. It is great that people can be so much more open about that. Listen, tell me about life after rugby then. So you're working in financial services as well.
I'm working for a financial planning firm with Paul Merriman, the CEO of Ask Paul, who comes in here as well. Yeah, he does, yeah. So I'm head of partnerships in Ask Paul or Fairstone. So I'm kind of working on relationships with corporates and kind of and trying to get Paul to do. We do money masterclasses for employees, financial wellness, basically.
So what do you like with the spreadsheets then?
I'm not too good at the spreadsheets now. I'm not too good at them, but I'm getting the grips around with all the financial wellness kind of sort of stuff. So we're probably having a look on the budget now in the next.
But even with the laptops and stuff, because you spend 15 years as a professional rugby player, looking at lineouts. It's a bit of a culture change, a shock to the system.
Absolutely was. Even the first week or two going in, obviously, I've never used Windows before. It was always just a Mac, so I was kind of logging to Outlook, and I was like, I didn't know how to use it. But it's been a year now, so I've got my way around.
You're redirecting your energy. I'd say it takes a lot less energy to be sat at a laptop than at the
go off and get that printed. Then you're like,
sprinting over.
How do I work the
How do I make this meeting? I was like, how do I invite somebody to the meeting? And I was like, annoying.
Oh, Zoom is a whole other world, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Big time. You're also involved in the shoebox appeal as well.
Yes.
Like trying to do something good too.
So Team Hope's Christmas shoebox appeal, we're hoping to send out 200,000 shoeboxes to kids in Eastern Europe and Africa. So it's just kind of trying to put a smile on a kid's face at Christmas time, to be honest.
Great.
Like I had them at home, and my little 3-year-old Grace kind of looked at it, and she was like over the moon looking at everything in the box, and she was unbelievably excited. And I was just thinking of how excited a kid in Africa would be about it, because she's obviously very privileged to have any amount of toys that she needs. Like so, to be able to.
How does it work?
So you fill a shoebox with something from the 4 W's. So something to wear, something to write, something to wash, and something wow. So some of the toys or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then you wrap it in Christmas paper, and then there's loads of drop-off points around Ireland. So if you just do a quick Google of the Christmas shoebox appeal, you'll get all the details.
Oh, perfect. So they're all local to everyone then.
That's a great idea. So are you getting to spend a bit more time with the family, or do you find that actual work life, the whole 9 to 5, is You're away
No,
more?
there's loads. Yeah, I
Really?
can spend so much more time. It's brilliant. Yeah, being able to do stuff on the weekends and being able to plan stuff and plan holidays is brilliant. Like, you know, it's great. But I suppose when the matches are on now, I'm kind of away doing a little bit of corporate stuff. But obviously when matches aren't on, it's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So like, we're obviously at home all the time now.
Are you going to get over to Paris, do you reckon?
I don't know. Hopefully, if there's
watching here now.
Hopefully, if there's a semi or a final, I might be able to get over. But I'm not there for the quarters anyway.
Oh, it's going to be epic. Well, listen, we'll be in the semis and the finals, no bother. Anyway, listen, Devin, great to catch up with you again. Thanks so much for coming and talking to us.
Thank you.
Now, still to come, prepare for kitchen fun as we're going to make bao buns.
I can smell it already. Plus, we delve into how your interior surroundings showcase your self-expression. We'll be back in a few.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the headlines now. And at least 1,000 people have now been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza, while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel. Israel said that more than 100 of its citizens have been kidnapped by Hamas. Up to 2,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed. The 6.3 magnitude quake hit the Herat province on Saturday, blocking roads, downing communications and reducing many buildings and mud structures to rubble. And the three coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the final touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to help with the cost of living, such as an energy credit. Increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC, are also on the cards.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry, apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day, with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, forget burger buns, it's all about the bao.
It's all about the bao. Susie Lee's in the kitchen this morning. These are gorgeous. We're having them already.
So
these are becoming... I've never tried these before.
Really?
Bao buns, they're called.
Right, well, I'm going to show you a really cheap, quick method to make the dough, the bao.
Okay.
I am using extra yeast, but it speeds up the time, so they get super fluffy quite quickly, but it's just about speed for this.
Absolutely.
So I have allowed some yeast and sugar and some water to bloom. So if you see your yeast going like that, that's at its optimum. Like you want it to be fluffy.
Kind of. Yeah,
because if
just cold water.
Slightly lukewarm, so just a little drop of hot water in it, and then mix it in. Let it sit for about 5 minutes, and you'll get that lovely frothy kind of bubbly effect. If you don't, it just will take longer for the whole process. So just some plain flour added to that.
How much flour is that?
That is just plain flour, so that's 375 grams of plain flour, and then we just mix it till it is well combined. So all you want to do is just combine it and then let it sit. It's really roughly combined. We don't need to knead it at this stage.
I was about to swallow.
You don't need to knead it. Why? No, at this stage.
At this stage, you don't. Okay. So I was just eyeballing that. So you just need a little bit extra flour there with the quantities. But you just let that sit and leave it underneath a tea towel.
Okay.
And then you get it to...
And what would it need to be overnight or just like
an
hour?
So literally about 45 minutes and it's done and dusted. So you've got a really nice soft dough.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So all you do then is then divide it up. You need this for about 5 minutes then. So if you don't have a dough hook or mixer...
You can just knead it in your hands like that?
So you
for about 5
literally
minutes?
just push until it sort of gets nice and soft and that it's not too sticky.
The dough hook on a mixer is some job, isn't it?
It's amazing.
Makes life so much easier.
Yeah, so all you're going to do is just chop it into sections and then roll it out. So to stop it really sticking, you just want to spray your hands and the board with a little bit of oil.
So what sort of kind of grams, kind of like...
Yeah, so then this was...
50, 100 grams or so, or 50?
Yeah, so it's about 50 if you want quite large kind of bao buns, like your size.
Okay.
So this is slightly smaller. So the key to a bao bun for that shape is to roll it into an oval. So that's it. So all you're doing is that. You've already greased it with a little bit of oil, but a little bit more doesn't harm it. And then you just fold it over. So you just make that.
And then what?
And then what?
And then you pop it into your hot steamer that's been steaming and then just let it...
Now, say if you don't have a steamer, but you'd like
so
to do
you
these.
literally...
I have a vegetable steamer, though. That's not the wooden one.
So if you have a pot like this, then all you need to do is put like a bit of tinfoil scrumpled up and then a flat dish like this.
All right.
On top.
Over the tin foil?
Yeah, over the tin foil, and it balances it, and then put it in, and then you steam it like that.
And a bit of water in it?
Bit of water, just a bit of water, just to cover. So cover the tin foil, and it balances just as long as the plate doesn't touch that. Otherwise, it will crack. So in there for 12 to 15 minutes, and then voila. Then you steam it for 15 minutes, and you get your bao buns out like that. So that's a half a size of that.
Try these, okay.
Right.
But your sticky pork belly bites is really, really simple. So that was leftover pork belly that I have, but you can use chicken if you've got it, right?
So if you
we're
had
just
a chicken yesterday and you had something left over?
Slice it all up or chop it all up. I'm just going to heat this pan up, and this is...
probably have tofu or whatever else.
Yeah, anything you want to do. So some ginger, some garlic in here, some honey.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Tommy's paused
Mine's all
his.
gone.
It's gone.
You're literally gone.
Some brown sugar, some light soy. If you have dark, then no problem. It's just slightly saltier. So just beware, you might have to add a little bit more sugar, and then some rice wine vinegar. Okay. So bring that up to the boil.
Does the honey not burn?
It does, but you are going to be stirring it.
Okay.
So literally it's minutes. So once it starts to get really thick and sticky.
I love cooking in a wok.
Yeah,
I love cooking in a wok, just throwing everything in.
Yeah,
and
it's simple, and obviously it's a bit catchy here because there's a lot of the kick from the rice wine vinegar. But once you get it to that and it starts to reduce a little bit, then you can throw in chicken, you can throw in your pork belly.
We do that sauce with salmon sometimes.
Yeah, delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really delicious.
Type of salmon, yeah.
And you just allow that to reduce down. So while that's doing that, I'm going to simply talk through how quick and easy those pickled veg are. Right.
Okay, right.
So,
Jeepers, you're getting it all into this.
yeah,
Fair play.
sugar, some rice wine vinegar again, a little bit of salt to balance out that sweetness, and ginger to give it that real good aromatic. Slice up your vegetables as thinly as that. The cucumber, if you don't want it to go soggy, you want to sprinkle a little bit of salt first before you marinate everything, and then pat it dry.
Salt over the whole lot now, or just
you
over
can
the
do that,
cucumber?
but for the cucumber, you know, it just gets really kind of soggy. So to keep the crunch, you want to add a little bit of salt, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then a lot of liquid will come out. Then you pat it dry with some kitchen roll, and then mix through all those vegetables, put it into this lovely, like sharp, sweet kind of like dressing.
Yeah.
And just let it sit overnight. But you can use it within like that. It's just very lightly marinated, but you've had an overnight one.
What's the dressing there? So it's
rice wine vinegar,
rice wine vinegar,
salt, and some slices of ginger. That's it. Boil it up, let it cool, and then you can add everything together. If you have it hot, then all the colours kind of infuse together.
Oh, wow.
And how long the buns should be steaming for? Do you say 20 minutes?
So 12 to 15.
12 to 15.
But what you're looking for is just
so
really
they're done
puffed.
now.
They're done now. So what?
So basically,
we could probably have another one there now.
Would you like another one?
Have another one, Tommy. We could probably have another one. So basically, they're open and everything because you haven't sealed them.
So what happens is with that oil, you can peel that open. So have your rubber gloves on if you want. If you are really sensitive to heat, and just peel them open, and then obviously Tommy is ready for another one.
Now, this recipe is in this book, but your new book, you can pre-order your new book now.
And it's called Simply Chinese feasts.
Take two.
Take two. So literally, it's all about all the recipes that I grew up eating, but on a larger scale. Festivals, birthdays, and just more celebrations.
More celebration.
Yes.
And how do people find out where do they go?
So if you go to my Facebook or my
Susie Lee?
Yeah, Susie cooks the books.
Susie cooks.
No, it's Susie cooking the books.
She's an accountant and everything
I'm
else
an
on top
accountant.
of all this.
Yeah.
Susie cooking. Look at that.
Look at that, Susie. You're very good.
Look, will we show it there to the camera, Tommy?
His second one.
We don't do that.
Show that.
Susie
Get a
Lee,
shot of it.
As always, thank you very much.
Picking up. So if you do take your eye off, this is what could happen.
Oh, yes, it burns.
Yeah,
Look
they
at
can
that.
do that,
Look
but
at
lovely.
The honey
Come on, get out of that
is just
there now.
gorgeous.
Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome.
And good luck with the new book. You come in and do a feast for us one day.
I will.
A big feast. OK, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Now, after the break, we're talking all things interiors with Lisa Cannon and Natasha Rocca-Devine.
See you after the break.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, our next guests have teamed up to launch Season 2 of their interior design podcast, which focuses on how interiors have the power to shape us as individuals.
Yes, and here to tell us all about it are TV presenter and producer Lisa Cannon and interior designer Natasha Rocca-Devine. Hello, ladies. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Look at you.
Lisa.
I'm normally there.
That's weird. That's what I was going to say. How does it feel being on that side of the sofa?
I was reading your auto cue there and I was like, I'm about to pop in. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, it's the first time I've been a guest on Ireland AM. There's something to promote. Yeah. Yeah.
How's it feel?
Really weird. No, it's great. It's
grand. You're at home. You're at home.
I'm at home.
This podcast, Natasha, I want to go back a bit because, like, although this has been hugely successful for you, but this is something that it was something that happened in your life that spurred you on to just say, yes, I'm going to do more stuff. And this was a car accident you had. Can you take us back to that?
Yeah, do we have all day? We've got 8 minutes.
But I just because it was a turning point.
A massive turning point. Yeah, so I was in a car accident in San Francisco. I did a J1 like most Irish students, or a lot of Irish students. And unfortunately, I was in a really bad car accident. I was in a coma. I had a brain hemorrhage. And over about 5 years, I had to learn how to kind of walk, talk, everything again. Wow. My memory was really bad. And you're at that age where you just don't want to complain. You know, you're like a student. You're just trying to pretend everything was fine. But it was really hard for my mental health at that time. So I'm really conscious. You know, I've got high empathy for anyone who's struggling. But anyway, on a positive, one day I woke up, I remember my mom and I had a chat and I just said, you know what? She said something that just really hit home, like, this is your second chance, like, make the most of it. And I just went for everything. I said yes. I did 2 masters. I probably wouldn't have done this. I probably would have had a totally different life had I not done this. But I did 2 masters and I just said yes to life. And I know it sounds very American and very positive and all, but I really took everything kind of day by day. But don't get me wrong, like, I have bad days and now it's probably balanced out and I'm back to more normal. But I definitely think when people say, where'd you get your fire? I say that's definitely from my accident. You know,
it's amazing. I love when people take something so positive from an experience like that, you know. And you've been very successful in your interior design career from then. You've worked with Vice President Al Gore at one point and you're kicking off 2nd season of the podcast now, Room to Grow. Tell us about this. Space to Grow, sorry.
Firstly, why did you ask her?
Yeah, not you. Yeah, exactly.
Why did you ask Lisa to join you?
Actually, Lisa, you were my first featured guest on Series 1. And we just clicked, didn't we? We had the best time ever.
We really did.
And then we met for lunch and we just worked it. We said, look, how can we collaborate? And I think that's what it should be. People can be competitive, but actually 2 people from different backgrounds or in the same area are better together, I think. So we just kind of worked it out. And I said, Lisa, I'd love you to produce, but also to co-host. How fabulous is she? She's absolutely amazing. And I just said, she's too fantastic to have off camera. So that's where it all started.
I've seen a lot of on your Instagram about, like, you love getting it stuck in with the interior design.
I love it. I love it. It's kind of an inbuilt passion that I've always had, but I never kind of had anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
And then I did a renovation, and I didn't live in the house, but I renovated a kind of 1970s house, and I thought I was only doing 4 things, and I ended up doing 24 things. So we talked a lot about that as well on the podcast. Like, it was horrific. I hated it. I hated it,
It's hard,
I was skint, I was broken down, I was exhausted. But actually, what came out of it was so amazing at the end of it. So it wasn't just interior design. Now, we knocked walls down, structural walls and everything like that. Yeah, and I kind of was like, OK, well, you know, the 4 things turned into 24. But what I learned out of it over the 9-10 months that we did it was pure grit and determination. And that's why I have to commend this woman. I mean, you've just spoken about, obviously, her being in the coma for that particular time and how she brings her tenacity. Like, if Natasha asks you to do something, you do it because she has such grace, but also such power in how she delivers things. And I think, you know, all commends to Natasha. You know, brought the podcast out of nowhere, and now we're in season 2 and we're doing really well.
Well, Natasha, tell us about the podcast for people who might know. What is it about?
So I think, I suppose it's probably back to that experience. I think design is more about your lifestyle. It's not just trends and fashion. It's about who you are. It's about bringing out the happiness in your home or your commercial space. So the show's really about that, and it's looking back to our childhood homes for our guests and going, why are you the way you are? So if you're from a big family, as an example, usually you go one way or the other, I believe, with my clients and the guests, is you either want a really busy house or a quiet house. So people kind of go, they repeat what they've known. And I love the psychology behind design. So basically, we've interviewed 7 amazing guests.
There's Deirdre. She drops today.
Yes.
Actually, she's out now, wherever you get your podcast. Yes.
Deirdre being our first guest. And basically, we asked her about her childhood home and then her favourite spaces. And then she talked about renovations during lockdown and things like that. So it's a combination between lifestyle and design, but why we love the spaces we love and kind of why we're influenced by that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I have funny stories, you know, and obviously I'm only joking. It was great fun at the same time as it being horrific, you know, clearing out spiders, cement up your nose, you know, all the things you don't think that are very unglamorous. And Natasha will always say that about interior design. Everyone thinks it's just fabrics and floating around. There's a lot more to it. But Deirdre O'Kane opened up about that. She was like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do at my house. I just lived off data rails. She loved that. Hugh Wallace came on, talked about, you know, everything to do with design and how he got his leg up, I suppose, into interior design. So everyone was great. Nikki Clark, Perlow.
And each person had a different story, but everyone on the show had an experience with interiors, so it's not completely random. And it's called the Entertainment Series in honour of the Queen of Entertainment, Lisa. So we brought in, you know, obviously people in entertainment, but it's a really good mix. And then there's a sense of family, like Blona Tracy she's brought her daughter. So we were the first people to ever have a baby on a podcast. So it's a really, and then obviously Sean Mansanjay, amazing, you know, just literally every guest. And Brendan Courtney, who's just launched.
He nearly brought his dog. What's lovely about it, isn't it? It's kind of relaxed.
Yeah,
you know, we shot it in the Devlin. It's quite cinematic. You know, we kind of brought that element to it. I wanted it to be cinematic from that element of entertainment, and I executive produced it. So the whole idea was that we would bring great names, you know, personalities to the table, but also showcase what they do in their homes and how they live in their own space.
Yeah, and now you're used to interviewing people over the years, Lisa. I have to ask you about when you interviewed Beyonce.
Oh, right.
What was that like?
Everybody loves that one, don't they? I think the lovely part about the story is that my father was there. That's the best bit about it, because we were on holiday, myself and my dad, and we were just chilling out, you know, and having a nice time in New York, off to see the Met or whatever we were doing. And then my producer at the time,
Debbie O'Donnell.
Let's name check Debbie. Of course, Debbie, she's a brilliant producer, of course, rang me and was like, you're in New York, Beyonce's in New York, let's make this happen. So, of course, it was for Expose at the time. And I couldn't even get her off the phone, because I was like, yes, of course. Why wouldn't you? So dragged Dad to Macy's. Dad had his camera because he was an amateur photographer. So there he was in the pit taking all the photographs of Beyonce when she was posing. And it was a phenomenal experience. You know, I only was meant to get 4 minutes and I got 14.
Oh my God.
We great crack. And of course, Dad was chatting up the PR woman. So that was great. He distracted her. So we'd loads of time.
You weren't getting the rap.
No raps. And it was just great. She talked about Dublin and everything. And my dad was like, oh, will you stand there, Beyonce, and get a few pics?
Oh, my
So
goodness.
she did. She obliged for my dad. She thought he was lovely.
What a wingman.
I'm telling you. And
Thanks,
I
Dad.
suppose, like, Natasha, when we're talking about interior design, I think you mentioned lockdown there. I think we all tried something during lockdown.
Absolutely.
And I think it resonates with everybody now, because during lockdown we tried something.
Yeah. And I also think it was a really great time. I know, besides the fact that lockdown was, you know, a really hard time for everyone. But actually, I think people realised, A, that, you know, you can do it, but B, it's hard. And I think that's what you said. It's like everyone can do it, and I'm very much for it. And I'm like, encourage people. I have a book out at the moment which encourages people, like, to do their own DIY, but do be practical. Like you say, like it does cost money. It is hard. Like, but did you do anything yourself? Either of you? Did you?
We tried. Yeah,
What did you do?
Just small things. It was more clearing and stuff like that. But that's good mentally because I loved it, and I loved when the place was clear, and I just had a whole different sense of the house and everything like that.
It's really good, and I also think I'm very much into sustainable design and clearing things out. And because actually cleaning and clearing, I always say is my first tip. You know, because actually you can't get your head around it, and then some people then completely gut it and do everything new, and that's not necessary either. So I'm very much about mix and match.
Well, I love it. So you can find out all about this Space to Grow, and it's season 2 of the podcast, as you say, on wherever you find your podcast, Space to Grow. Natasha Rocca-Devine and Lisa Cannon, thank you so much
ladies.
for joining us.
Thank you.
This morning. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Now, still to come, we're so looking forward to this. PR guru Terry Prone talks career highlights, including working for Gay Byrne, as detailed in her new memoir.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few minutes. You're very welcome back to the final hour of Ireland AM, and we've still got plenty more to cover. So let's take a look at what's still in store.
Coming up very shortly, Media Master, the one and the only, Terry Prone, is here. She's going to tell us all about her latest memoir, which includes a story about her giving an interview the day after giving birth to Anton Savage. Her son, Anton.
That's very quick, isn't it?
Looking forward to catching up with Terry very shortly.
Also, a little later on, we'll have expert advice on how to spot the early signs of breast cancer and how to act accordingly.
Now, Alan's got all the goss. What is the latest in the land of celebrity? Yes, your land, Al.
Oh, did you hear him now? Ali Ryan is here because last night, Ali, Big Brother launched. I was glued. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was good. There's been a lot of controversy online because it wasn't live. I think we want the old Big Brother back.
You missed that. You certainly missed that buzz.
But the contestants are so good. I think they're going to bring the drama. Olivia was the girl kept saying, I don't normally cry. Cried about 6 times. So I think there's going to be a lot of drama. Jenkins. Love Jenkins.
Brilliant.
I think they've actually got the right personalities in there. So I think it could be a hit show this year.
I actually think it's going to be great. But I did think they missed the trick there by not having that live
and I
last
missed Davina. And Brian Dowling, I think.
Brian Dowling did it. Yeah, Brian Dowling and Emma and everybody. But anyway, we have a new series and we'll be talking about that a little later on. But first, let's go up to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Geraldine Lynagh.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning. More than 1,100 people have now been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza, while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel. Israel said that more than 100 of its citizens have been kidnapped by Hamas.
After a weekend of unprecedented attacks, the violence continues. Israel set the scene for a full-blown military operation yesterday after officially declaring war on Hamas. On Saturday, Palestinian militants launched a surprise attack in southern Israel, killing over 500 and kidnapping civilians and soldiers. Then on Sunday, Israel responded with airstrikes, killing close to 400 people. In Tel Aviv, families are submitting DNA samples in the hopes of reuniting loved ones that have been taken hostage.
She was in the ambulance 208, but we don't know where is she now.
More and more violence will continue for some time, as Israel's Prime Minister says the country is embarking on what will be a long and difficult war. Mairead Cleary, Virgin Media News.
A woman with dual Irish-Israeli citizenship is among those unaccounted for in the Israeli conflict. The Department of Foreign Affairs says it's in contact with the family of 22-year-old Kim Damty, who was attending a music festival in southern Israel when the attacks began. There's been widespread condemnation of the attack on Israel by Hamas. The Taoiseach said there could be no excuse for the violence.
This is probably the worst attack that Israel has had to endure for 40 years now, and the government condemns it unreservedly. There can be no excuse for targeting women, children, taking children and women and civilians as hostage. I don't think anyone could do anything other than condemn that, and we do condemn it unreservedly.
Up to 2,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed.
Excavators being used to dig through piles of rubble as people search for any survivors after the deadly earthquake in Afghanistan. Others use spades and their hands as they search for survivors. The death toll is expected to rise as searches of collapsed homes are carried out. The mud structures were flattened almost completely in Saturday's 6.3 magnitude quake, which has destroyed many villages northwest of the city of Herat. According to the UN, 465 houses have been destroyed, with over 135 others severely damaged. The magnitude 6.3 earthquake is one of the deadliest to strike the country in 2 decades. There were at least 3 strong aftershocks, including one measuring magnitude 5.5 on the Richter scale. The rubble is also blocking roads, making access difficult for rescue and humanitarian efforts in the region. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
A motorcyclist has been killed in a road accident in Donegal. The single vehicle crash happened on the R262 near Clenties shortly before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The motorcyclist, a man in his late 40s, received medical treatment at the scene but was pronounced dead a short time later. His death brings to 4 the number killed in separate road accidents around the country this weekend. The 3 coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the final touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to help with the cost of living, such as an energy credit. Increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC, are also on the cards. A mortgage interest relief scheme for homeowners is likely, while third-level grants for students are expected to rise. Further meetings are expected today to finalise a number of outstanding details. Finally, for now, the doorbell camera company Ring is offering people the chance to win $1 million if they can capture evidence of extraterrestrial life on their cameras. The company says the space experts will review submissions to look for proof. Skeptics can win as well. Ring is also offering a prize for the most creative fake.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day, with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
You're very welcome back.
Now, we were chatting earlier on that Walker's crisps have crisps. Do you call it crisps or crisps?
I call it Worcester.
No, crisp. They decided to stop making their
Worcester.
We'll
get it right one of these days.
And fans were going mad because they were saying their sandwiches are ruined, and you'd actually said you'd like them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. They're nice in a sandwich. You know, they add that bit of kind of like tanginess of the
like
savoury.
A chutney or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we thought that we'd ask you, what do you miss that has been discontinued? You said the Mars Delight. And to be fair, that's a great shout.
Thank you.
What were they thinking? Get rid of this.
Idea.
Frank has said that he's found golf balls again after years of search. I don't.
They're like the chewing gums.
I thought he'd found
golf balls.
Golf balls.
He was in the pond waiting around.
Okay, so he said they are so good. What are they?
They're chewing gums.
Oh, right.
They're tiny little, like they look like golf balls. They kind of have those, you know, the little dimples in them, and they're really horrible chewing gums.
There you go.
There you go, Frank.
Anne said Perry crisps were the nicest in the 1960s. I think they were brought back in 2020, but very hard to get.
I can't believe Frank about his golf balls, though. Is he still eating them? Like, they must be gone off.
Well, obviously not.
We found a packet of them.
Have you found a packet of Perry crisps?
In the 1960s.
Yeah, I don't recognise them now.
Oh, do you not?
No.
Okay.
Who else have we got?
Bernie's here.
Bernie says, I wish you could still get KP potato chip crisps. They were my absolute favourite.
Oh, can you not get them anymore? No.
No, they do the peanuts and stuff, but they
Take me
might
back to my childhood.
in a pub.
With the pub with my parents.
Yeah.
Just
and you're getting
shipped off with a load of packets of crisps. Crisps.
Clips.
Claire has said, top deck bars were amazing. Cadbury, Australia.
Oh, I don't know them at all.
No, me either.
It's white chocolate on the top, milk chocolate on the bottom.
Oh, they'd be lovely. Why don't they make them here?
In Australia, but not the same. There you go.
You're on the telly again tonight?
I am. Again, I'm double booked
Never
today.
off the telly.
Sick of me, I'd say. Yes, Gra Iron Tra is coming out back for its 3rd episode tonight on Virgin Media 2 at 10 p.m. after Big Brother.
After Big Brother,
yes, after Big Brother. So 2 episodes of reality TV in a row. What can go wrong?
Can't go wrong.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think we have a little sneak peek of what's to come. Let's see.
Lots happening tonight. Here's the drama.
It's just even when he's here, I feel kind of like not invisible, but I feel like he's talking to everyone and like trying to avoid me. It's like I feel like he just hates me, to be honest.
Oh, he definitely doesn't hate you.
I think the most stressful thing is I'm trying to work as a partner with Zach, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be like we're falling in love, we're literally getting married. Like that's not what I'm after.
Yo, little man.
Hello. Oh, am I a little man now? I think he's attractive, but I don't think I'm attracted to his personality.
Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Rabbit food.
Yeah. Bagel, cheese, guacamole, and I toasted it.
Oh, I am loving it.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's getting such great reviews as well for like an Irish dating show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's blowing up. Yeah.
It's a bit more drama tonight like that.
Yes, there's lots lost in translation tonight with the language and with the love. Yeah, so you'll have to tune in to see.
Well, if you do want to catch that episode of Gra Iron Tra tonight, it is on Virgin Media 2, not Virgin Media 1 at 10 o'clock. It's a channel change, so take note that it is on Virgin Media 2, and it is well worth checking out.
Directly after Big Brother. Now, after the break, we're going to chat to communications extraordinaire Terry Prone about the highs and lows of life in the media.
Good morning, you're very welcome back. Now, our next guest, she's been an actor, a journalist, a government advisor, and of course, a writer, starting her career at just 13 years of age.
Now, here to talk about her life, love, and memoir, Caution to the Wind, it's author Terry Prone. Good morning to
morning, Terry.
And I was just asking you, caution to the wind, or do you throw caution to the wind? Which is it?
Well, the whole story of the book is about throwing caution to the wind and doing stuff that you shouldn't do, which was the story of my life. But the real reason that it's called that is because me and my agent, Jonathan, were fighting about titles. I'd come up with 3 titles, he'd say, nah, 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 and then he would. And one day I went to Next and I bought a skirt. And as I was hanging up the skirt, I noticed the label said, Caution to the Wind.
Right.
And I rang Jonathan and said, I think my skirt has decided the title.
What the name of the book?
Are you serious? So that's where
it's
it came
a brand,
from.
apparently.
Oh, well, there you go.
But it really fitted, you know.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely, listen, congratulations.
Thank you so
Because
much.
I'm sure, like, you wrote it yourself. It was a lockdown project for you. And I'm sure to go back and recall some of the memories, even from back to your childhood, must have been incredible. And even, like, talking about your mum, and like some of the life lessons that she kind of instilled in you at a young age, but like, you know, make sure you earn your own money. You know, she was a really strong character in your upbringing.
Oh, totally. And one of the things that I discovered in the crates of stuff that she had filed away were her household accounts that she needed to present to my father at the end of every month because he was the earner and he was therefore in charge of the budgets. And the little things that she had to spend money on. This was a woman who made clothes, made lampshades, did everything, and yet she had to account for every penny, as women of that generation did. And it left her with a sense of earn your own money.
Don't
be
be
in
reliable.
charge of your own money. No matter how nice is your fella, earn your own money.
But like you were saying there in the intro that you started your career, then was that in you then that at 13 you would start something. What was your first job in RTE?
Well, my first appearance was in RTE was Sister Annunziata in school got 2 tickets for a programme called Teen Talk. And she came in and she said that she was going to send me as one of the 2 people. And of course, you know how loyal and collegial teenage girls are. All of them immediately said, you can't send Terry Prone because she's only 13 and you have to be 16 to go on the programme. And Nuncio said, Terry will wear the high heels she doesn't think I know she has. And she will look 16. And so I went to this programme. And it was one of these ones where there's a panel and an audience. And the audience was all made up of kind of teenagers in their late teens, you know, undergraduate students, posh people, in other words. And the rule was earlier that you went around, the presenter, whose name was Bunny Carr, went around asking any of them, would they like to ask a question? And then they'd ask the question and there'd be an adult panel. But I was listening to the questions that were coming up. And you know when teenagers are being pompous? Do you know, how can we save the world today? I mean, please. And so when he came to me, I said, yeah, I would like to ask a question. I'd like to ask why parents are so difficult about babies sucking their thumbs. Because it doesn't make you fat, it doesn't give you cancer, and it's free. And he looked at me as if I was a complete looper, said, and your name is? And I thought, fine. And then we were in the studio. And I mean, it was so magical. The first time you're in a TV studio, it's just magical.
Still is, of course.
Yeah,
when you're here.
Particularly. And then the signature tune, and then the presenter turned to the camera and he said, our first question comes from Terry Prone. And I asked my question about the babies, and all hell broke loose. Because first of all, the adult panel kind of patronised me, and I thought, hump this for a haircut, I'm not taking that. And then the teenagers were livid with me because they want to discuss important things, and here was this person bringing down the tone. And so I was then on an adrenaline high, and from there on, anytime the presenter asked me a question, by golly, I had an opinion. And I'm going out the door of RTE, you know, the one that has the circle. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus, Sister Annunziata tomorrow. Oh, God, my mother. And somebody caught my elbow and pulled me back. And this man said, Terry, I'm Dennis O'Grady. I'm the producer of this programme. And I thought, oh, God, he's going to give out to me as well. And he said, we've never had a teenager on the panel. I was wondering if you'd like to come and do it next week. And I'm looking at this and I said, but all I did was cause a row. And he said, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you've been causing them ever since.
And that just shows, like, and the career that you've had. You've known how to create a headline, know how to get the right thing is to open up a topic. And that's why you've been so successful both in television and in your work in life after that. But you're also a woman getting into media, getting into this world in a time when it wasn't really done. How difficult was that? Because we even just mentioned in the tease how the day after you gave birth to your son, Anton, who's here all the time, you actually did an interview. Did you feel like you just couldn't say no to anything back then?
Oh, absolutely. Freelance journalism meant that you had to be willing, on time, arrive sober, dressed, ready to go.
But the day after giving birth?
Well, the thing was, I had my dates wrong.
Oh,
so he kind of arrived
for the birth. Was this Anton's fault then?
And I'm lying there. And the weird thing is, I thought I was hallucinating because Tom has Anton in his arms and I'm listening to my own voice. And then I discovered they had the radio on and it was a pre-recorded interview with me about something. And then I thought, oh, bloody hell. I was supposed to interview Fab Vinny. Vincent Hanley,
yes,
the
I know
great Vincent Hanley,
I knew him well.
The following day. And I said this out loud, and one of the nurses looked at me and she said, this is a hospital, Terry. And I said, yeah. And she said, we might be safe to leave your baby with us for half an hour or an hour while you go off and do it.
Right.
Great. So I arrived, yanked on the jeans, arrived, and Vincent was... He was usually sunny and sweet and gorgeous, but he was kind of iffy. And eventually I turned off the recorder and said, have I offended you in some way? You seem off your game. And he said, you told me you were pregnant. And I said, oh, sorry, yes, I had the baby yesterday. And that put him off his stroke even worse.
And we're speaking of Anton there, but Anton's dad, your lovely husband, Tom, tell us about that and how you met and the circumstances around that. I find this fascinating.
Bunny Carr, who spotted me in the first programme, had kind of followed me all through, and I was appearing on other programmes. And then he became the director of the Catholic Communications Centre, top of Booterstown Avenue, which was teaching nuns and priests how to cope with radio and television. And he rang me this day and said, Terry, I want you to come and assess parish priests doing sermons. And I said, Bunny, I know shag all about sermons and not much about parish priests. He said, you'd be grand. I'll put in one of my senior lecturers to watch you. So that's fine. So I'm dealing with these incredibly old, they must have been at least 50, parish priests. And this guy comes in at the back in full priestly regalia, Beatles haircut. And he does, do you know that gesture that says, don't acknowledge me, I'm not relevant? And he sits at the back, and then I'm assessing a parish priest who has done a sermon it's kind of bullying. Right. And I said to him, do you need to be that aggressive with the congregation? And he got livid with me, and he said, the good Lord told us to be the shepherds of his flock. And I said, yeah, not the sheepdogs. And the guy at the back got up and left. And then, oh, Mother of God, now I'm in total trouble. Again. And the parish priest looked at me and he said, can you teach me not to be a sheepdog? Because I've been one for a long time. And I thought, oh, my God, what I can't do with you, you wonderful open person. But when it came to the coffee break, I went down to Bunny's office and said, your senior guy walked out. And he said, yeah. He said, you didn't need any supervision, that you were grand. And that was Father Tom Savage. Yeah. And he told me afterwards that he fell in love with me at that moment, watching me on that first day. Took me a long bit longer. I was maybe 5 weeks.
Incredible. And in that day and age as well. Because I know you talk about it as well, that he proposed to you, having never even kissed him, having never even touched anything like that. But even in terms of a relationship with a priest, how did that, what was the response to it in your family, in the community, in the priesthood?
I think both of our families were horrified. My father didn't talk to me for nearly 3 years. Really? He gave me a Christmas present. On Christmas morning, one Christmas, I came down, there was a package beside my plate, and when I opened it, it was a copy of a book called The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, and it was inscribed to my former daughter.
Oh, my goodness.
He actually felt so strongly about it that he didn't want me as his daughter anymore. On the other hand, 6 weeks before we got married, my father came to me and said, I've made a great mistake, and if you will let me, I will give you away on the day of your wedding.
That must have been such a relief for you, was it? Yeah.
It was just so nice to and my husband always maintained that suffering can lead to great happiness. That once you've surmounted, as we had, those 3 years of misery, God, we were so happy it was disgraceful.
Terry, do you know, we haven't even scratched the surface because your career with Communications Clinic, obviously, with Taoiseachs and the advice you've given over the years. Can you come back and tell us part 2 of the interview? Because we certainly need a part 2 of this.
There's going to be a part 2 to the book as well, isn't there? That a lot of the political stuff too. But in this, I mean, the stories even tell everybody about Tedster, Anton's favourite toy and stuff as well. I'm sure you love that.
Yeah, Tedster. Terry Prone, Caution to the Wind, great read, fascinating. A searingly honest memoir, says Matt Cooper. There you go. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Congratulations. 2 incredible write-ups at the weekend about it too. It is time now to get the news over to Geraldine Lynagh.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. More than 1,100 people have now been confirmed dead as violence continues in Israel and Gaza. The Israeli military says it expects the number killed to rise as many people have been critically injured. At least 260 of those killed were attending a music festival in Israel, which was targeted by Hamas in a surprise attack at the weekend. Overnight, the Israeli military continued airstrikes on Gaza, while rockets were fired from the Palestinian territory into southern Israel. Israel said that more than 100 of its citizens have been kidnapped by Hamas. Up to 2,000 people are feared dead after a powerful earthquake hit western Afghanistan. Rescue workers have been struggling to reach more remote areas where hundreds of homes have collapsed. The 6.3 magnitude quake hit the Herat province on Saturday, blocking roads, downing communications and reducing many buildings and mud structures to rubble. And the three coalition party leaders, the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Public Expenditure, met late into the night to put the final touches to the budget. The package of measures, which is due to be unveiled tomorrow, is expected to include one-off measures to help with the cost of living, such as an energy credit, increases in some social welfare payments, as well as cuts to income tax and USC are also on the cards.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
This morning will be largely dry, apart from some patchy rain across Ulster. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Mist and fog will lift in many areas during the day, with hazy sunshine developing this afternoon. Highest temperatures of 17 to 21 degrees. And scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle will develop in West Connacht and Ulster overnight, while it will remain mostly dry elsewhere. Lowest temperatures tonight of 13 to 17 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
You're very welcome back. Onto a very important topic. 1 in 7 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in a lifetime, so it is so important to know the signs and check yourself regularly. Joining us now to demonstrate how to do a proper breast check is cancer awareness nurse with the Irish Cancer Society, Michelle Lonigan. Hello, Michelle. How are you this morning?
Hi, Shiva. Thanks very much for having me here.
No problem. Thanks so much for coming in and chatting about this. So, breast cancer has an 85% survival rate when caught early. So, how often should women be checking their breasts, and at what age should they start checking?
Yeah, so ideally women should be checking their breasts once a month, and when in the month that can differ. So depending on if they're having their periods, it should be the week after their period, and if they have stopped periods, so women in the menopause, they should kind of do it the first of the month. So marking it into the calendar as a way of remembering it. And to answer your question there, how early should they start? I suppose really breast cancer is a lot less common in younger women, but still it can occur. So really, once women, they're fully developed, I suppose, kind of from the age 18, 19, 20, it's a great habit to get into just once a month, being breast aware and examining yourself.
Great, OK, and get the reminder into the calendar, have it coming up every month. That's actually a great suggestion. I must pop that into my own Google Calendar. But breast cancer can also occur in every 1 in 1,000 men. So should they also be checking themselves?
Yeah, so breast cancer is a lot less common in men. There's about 30 cases in Ireland per year. And it is actually can be easier to detect in men, I suppose, because, they don't have as much breast tissue. So a lump can sometimes be more obvious. But as we know, it's not always a lump. So really, like with any other watching for signs of cancer, knowing your own body and knowing what's normal for you. So, for men, even keeping an eye on themselves as well.
OK. So just be aware of your own body. So we've got this model here, Michelle. Could you show us how to perform a proper breast check there?
Yeah, I will indeed. So really, I suppose when it comes to performing a breast self-examination, it's important to look as well as to feel. So looking for changes as well as feeling for changes. So it's not always a lump. So it can be a change in the appearance of your breast. So I would always advise women to stand in front of a mirror to examine yourself, and you can either put your hands on your waist or raise your hands above just to notice if there's any changes in the skin. So first of all, you're going to look for any skin changes. So maybe any puckering of the skin, dimpling, an orange peel effect, any rash or scaling of the skin either. And you're also looking for any changes in the nipple. So it might be, flattened, inverted nipple that you might normally have. Some women have inverted nipples and that's normal for them. Any changes if they start to ooze or any cracking of the nipple as well. And then with the size of the breasts, no two breasts are the same on most women.
Sisters, not twins.
Exactly. So if you notice really a significant change, so one breast has become larger than the other or has dropped lower than the other, or any redness in the skin. So the appearance is very important as well, that it's not just a lump. Okay, and then, so when you are examining yourself then, what women often find is that it's easier to do it in the shower with the soapy hand. And it's more comfortable as well. So you're going to raise one arm behind your head and then with the other hand using the pads of your fingers. And it's a good idea then the whole idea is that you want to cover the whole breast, okay? So you can start from the inside out and you're going to just palpate it all along there and not being afraid to put a bit of pressure on it. So going from the nipple in a clockwise direction, feeling all the way around. And you're going to do that throughout the whole breast. And yeah, right out to the very edge, the whole way around. Not forgetting under the arm because breast tissue, you know, extends to there. So you're going to feel under the armpits as well, and also along by the collarbone.
Okay, so right up there to the collarbone.
Right up there to the collarbone, and then you turn around and do the same thing on the other side. Now, some women rather do this when they're lying down, and it can be easier for women with larger breasts to do that lying down to make sure they cover the whole of the breast area.
Yeah, that they're thorough with it. Yes. And should you be looking for pain when you're doing that, or is pain a symptom?
Pain isn't generally a symptom. I mean, and generally a painful breast doesn't indicate breast cancer. But I suppose, again, it comes down to any changes, you know, so anything out of the norm for you, it's better to get it checked out.
Of course.
And, you know, the first time that you go to do this, you might find that, oh gosh, I have lots of lumps. But that's your normal. And, you know, the more frequent you do it, and that's why we'd encourage women to do it every month, that you notice a change more.
And are there any other symptoms aside from lumps? Like, is there any other indications of this?
Yes, so really it can be just, like I had explained there, just a change in the appearance of the breast. So it could be an abscess, what might be described as mastitis, like an inflammation or redness of the breast as well. You know, get that checked out. And the reassuring thing is that more often than not, like 9 times out of 10, these changes aren't cancerous, you know. So even just for peace of mind to go and get them checked out.
That was my question. So once you find something and you're worried and there's a change, what are the next steps that women should take?
So your GP really is your first port of call. So I would ring my GP, you know, get an appointment, and then he or she will decide then if, depending on your age as well, because younger women have lots of changes in their breasts, depending on, you know, with hormonal changes, and even women going through the menopause can have lots of changes. So your doctor might decide that, look, you know, you might need to keep a breast lump diary, or that they feel if there's, you know, maybe family history, or given your age, that it's important, then they might refer you to a triple assessment breast clinic.
Great. And the HSE offers breast screenings. What age does that start for?
So the breast screening starts from age 50 for women between the ages of 50 and 69. And you'll be invited for your mammogram kind of after your 50th birthday, and then it'll be every 2 years after that.
Okay, great. It's good to know that it's monitored and that's in place. So donations are always needed, you know, to look into new funding for research and new treatments. But there's a big Pink Breakfast campaign happening. Tell us a little bit about that, Michelle.
That's right. So for the month of October, the Irish Cancer Society encourage people to host Big Pink Breakfast. So very small amount of our funding comes from the government, just 5%. So we rely on the public for donations and fundraising, which people are amazing in Ireland. So we would encourage people to host their own Pink Breakfast. So you can do it at work, you could do it in college, in school, bring your bakes, buy your bakes, bake your bakes, whatever you like to do.
We won't judge.
And all funds then go towards say breast cancer, research for breast cancer, and supporting patients with breast cancer. So, you know, the Irish Cancer Society has, you know, free counselling service. We have volunteer drivers, and we have the night nursing service as well. And also the support line, which is really important. And I suppose it's important to mention that here this morning for anybody that does have any concerns, that they can, you know, you don't have to have a cancer diagnosis to contact the support line.
Right.
And it's the phones are managed by cancer nurses, so, you know,
There's
experts.
support there for people that need it.
Absolutely,
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Michelle Lonigan from the Irish Cancer Society and the Big Pink Breakfast. Please get involved if you can, because they need all the donations they can get. Thanks so much, Michelle. After the break, we'll have the latest showbiz stories from Tinseltown. We'll see you then. Welcome back. Now, it's all been kicking off in the world of celebrity, from an alleged kidnap plot on Holly Willoughby to the highly anticipated return of Big Brother last night. Here with the Inside Scoop is Goss.ie's Ali Ryan. Hello, Ali. How are you?
Ali.
How are
So, Big Brother. I mean, even the music, hearing that, I was like, it's back. We're back, baby.
I know. Between the Beckham documentary and Big Brother, I'm like, are we back in the early noughties? I don't know what's going on. But yes, it's back, and it had been so hyped up. It's the first time that it's ever been brought to ITV and therefore Virgin Media Ireland as well.
But they had a takeover last night. It was ITV1, ITVX, everything.
ITV2,
it was on everywhere.
So they're really going hard with it. Now, you'll see that was the live entrance yesterday, and they didn't actually do it live.
Yeah, they're not so live.
Which is what was, I think, the only criticism so far. Big Brother was always known for that original kind of people arriving on the night saying God knows what, everyone feeling the atmosphere. You could even see in the edit, sometimes when you looked at the crowd, they weren't even cheering. So it was very quiet, but then you'd hear cheering. So they obviously heavily edited it. So I think that was a big loss for them. People loved how live it was. But I will say the characters are very strong. You'll see some of them there now coming in. So far, I think the reason they didn't go live, right, is they wanted us to see a little bit of the first episode on the first night, which meant they had 24 hours to edit what happened. And look at them all there. Now,
but you know what I do love about it is that they did say they were going back to a social experiment.
Yes.
And I think they definitely, with the
you
people,
can see that.
There's none of these Love Island type people in it.
No.
They really are characters from small villages and different types of things. So they really trawled through this to get the social experiment back.
Yeah, and that's what it was originally. It was getting kind of different personalities from different backgrounds and really reflecting the true society, which I suppose Love Island, the argument is they don't.
No, they don't.
We're looking at picturesque, perfect people. So a lot of people on Twitter last night, or on X, were saying that they loved how inclusionary it was. You know, for the first time ever, we've Kerry, she's 40 years old, she's multiple sclerosis. So she's the first time ever to enter via a mobility scooter. So that's like never happened before, which I loved. But there's some standout characters already. So I know we were chatting about him earlier on, Alan Jenkins. And he said in his little intro that he loves the goss, so I love him already. But you can see he's a really colourful character. He's coming across. I felt so bad for him. He got his suitcase blown up. So they've already started the mind games.
He had to make breakfast for somebody on the first day. And he also got somebody else up for an eviction.
Yeah, so it's like, who do you think is the least likely to get on with, to live with? And he said Olivia, and then they were like, Olivia, you're now up for eviction. She was like, great. So he had a terrible first day. But it's so funny because Olivia, I think, is going to wreck our head and crack us up. I think she could be a really strong character, but she kept going into the diary room saying, I don't normally cry, and just kept screaming and crying. And I was like, she's going to be TV gold.
Yeah, we like that, don't we?
Yeah, but you need it. But what they have given her now is like they're going to do a thing. You go to vote for your least, or the person who's least entertaining.
Yeah.
So all she has to do now is be entertaining for the next couple of hours, and they won't vote her the least.
And that's what people need to remember about Big Brother, because there might be people watching it for the first time, not really getting it. One of the big things is that it's mind games. Big Brother plays with all of the people. Like, remember the year that Chantel was in there? She was a fake celebrity. People didn't even know until the very end that she wasn't a real pop star. So they really do mess with people. That's why it is the best experimental show. So I'm interested to see that. I think the mind games have started already. Also, they brought back the live stream, but I don't think you can watch it in Ireland. It's on ITVX. So if you have a way to get onto that,
well, it's only people asleep in their bedrooms for most of it anyway. I remember that.
There'll be a bit of action some of the nights when it gets onto him later.
Now, I'd say it's changed a bit. Like, do you remember the original? They were outside smoking and drinking and having arguments all the time. I don't think we'll see that. You know, it's a lot more PC these days.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it could be a really big hit this summer. Or this winter.
Which was nice at it as well. You're not going to be able to see them smoking.
Yes.
They've banned that. There is a smoking area, but you won't film that.
And I'd say, like Love Island, they're going to limit the amount of alcohol, which, to be fair, is for their own good. Some of the fights over the years, you know?
Yes. Very quickly, we'll move on to the next story then, Ali. Holly Willoughby.
Yeah, I know.
This is terrifying.
This is just a dreadful story. So a 36-year-old, and in fairness, poor Holly, she's already had stalkers and issues anyway, but a 36-year-old man got arrested and charged with planning and plotting to kidnap and murder her. So this is very, very dark, very, very serious. The police said that he was a part of a network of like-minded people. I don't know what that means, don't want to know what that means. But basically, he had planned it. He had got in contact with a hitman in the US, had invited him over. There was a complete plan together. He was caught allegedly in possession of weapons as well. So she's very obviously very, very shook. ITV released a statement. She's not expected back and for at least another month. She didn't go to the Pride of Britain Awards last night, but she's always at. So it's obviously really, really shaken her. She has police protection now. ITV have security for her. I mean, it's just dreadful. It's dreadful. It's really, really scary.
Very quickly, tell us about David Williams, and because he was sacked off Britain's Got Talent, and he has a high court.
So if anyone remembers, basically, in between the judging sessions, he had made some very bad comments about contestants, one girl and one elderly pensioners, the two worst people you can probably slag on TV. And they randomly got leaked. And he was meant to come back on the show. They didn't bring him back. Then there was an offer of £1 million to kind of settle. They took that back. Now he's suing for 10 million. And in the last year, he's dropped from a 3 million salary to 100 grand. Right. So he's saying that it's basically ruined his career. But it's a hard one because he did make the comments himself. Right. Yeah. But he's alleging that it's a breach of privacy, that he didn't know he's filmed all the time.
We'll have to keep an eye
They had the mics on, so be careful.
Be careful. We're always careful.
We'll have to see how
Ali
that works
Ryan
out.
from Goss.ie, thank you very much.
Now on tomorrow's show, we'll be seeing what's in store on the highly anticipated arrival of the Budget 2023.
Plus the Skin Nerd, we'll be discussing the latest trends and tips when it comes to your skincare.
And we've got singer Leah Hart. She's going to be chatting just about new music, live performances and lots more. Ireland Dame is back tomorrow from 7. Shiva, you're not in with us.
I won't be here tomorrow, no.
But you're on tonight.
Yes, Scrar and Traw, 10 o'clock, Virgin Media 2. Song, guys.
Media 2.
So have a great day. Bye-bye.